I talked about having been undocumented, and when I was a little kid, and this is a true story, and God, I must have been like 9 years old. I was at the beach with my parents when I saw an immigration raid happen in front of me. And when I turned to my dad to ask, like, in Spanish, I said, "Hey, papi, what's going on?" He turned to me and was like, "Shh, don't speak Spanish." And that fear that I saw in his eyes, I stopped speaking Spanish my entire life. Yeah. And when I say I'm like uniquely American, I didn't even speak Spanish, you know what I mean? Right. So that's actually what the show was. NWC for me was a political statement, was a culturally relevant social justice piece. And what you just saw was the last thing we wrote, because we knew we needed an overture to get into this very uncomfortable territory. Mm-hmm. So what better way to do it than just to put out the stereotypes that people were thinking of us, like front and center, and then we get on with the show.
And it worked perfectly because we're now in that uncomfortable territory, and these people have to get there.
No, y'all are cool.
All right.
We're good. They get a pass.
So that's great, and you toured the whole country with it.
Toured the country.
160 cities?
Yeah, over 45 states.
Wow.
Toured for 8 years, 8 months out of the year. Wow. We made a lot of money. I think we made like $1.5 million the first year and a half of touring.
Wow. Awesome.
Unheard of for a minority-run theater company.
Great.
And we thought it was going to lose interest. You know, eventually Wicked goes on tour and then people don't care anymore, right? But it morphed. In LA, this is a comedy. But it morphed into like, when something racist was happening in Kentucky, people would pick up the phone like, "We need NWC." So we became like these racial superheroes. Like, what's going on? What happened here? It was, we're here to save the day. It was so crazy. And we had to stop touring because like 8 years out of your life, it was crazy. Like we were famous in Casper, Wyoming, but in LA, no one knew who the fuck we were. Right? And then Participant Media, they are a studio in LA. They did Lincoln, they did The Help, they did An Inconvenient Truth. They saw the show and thought that this would be a fantastic television show. And that was my first foray into television. I was like, oh, this is awesome, this is fascinating. And then TV development, let me tell you. Careful what you wish for, right? Because this was our life work up until that point. We had this opportunity by this amazing, reputable organization that wanted to help us develop it. We started developing it. I was so young and I was a people pleaser at that time. And every note we got back, I would say, talk about like improv, yes and to everything and everyone. The problem is in television, which is a writer's medium, is that you have to fight for your voice. And you have to fully understand what it is that you want to say. Because if not, someone else is going to come along and steamroll you and tell you what they want to say. And there's this phrase that success has many parents, but failure is an orphan. That's what NWC was to me. Because I kept getting these amazing notes. I thought they were amazing notes from EPs, executive producers and showrunners in the studio and the network. But what came out on the other side of that sausage making machine was a show that I didn't even like, or I didn't even like relate to anymore. And my name was on it. And that was so crazy because when it didn't work, it was my fault. It wasn't anyone else's fault. And man, that really was a huge awakening for me, because I knew if I was gonna fail or make it in this industry, I wanted it to be by my choices and by my merits, not by someone else's. That's terrible. That's a terrible way to lose before you even start the race.
Yeah.